G'day Detailers Daily. Before we kick off today's episode, I'd like to make welcome Autofiber Australia, our new sponsor. So, as we all know, one thing when it comes to professional detailing, it's really important to use the right microfiber for the job, especially when it comes to ceramic coatings, glass cleaning, and etc. So, the guys at Autofiber Australia are offering an exclusive deal to all our Detailing Down Under podcast listeners. So, they're giving us 15% off on our first order. So head on over to autofiber.com.au and use the code 15DDUP. Also, if you are a business owner, you can also email Autofiber Australia. So that's sales@autofiber.com.au, and that'll get you 10% off, and you set up your trade account for that. So seriously amazing, good stuff, really. I've been using their applicators and scrub ninjas for a while now, even before this pod. So yeah, I really like the brand and what they offer. So, and I wouldn't support it if I didn't like it. So, head on over and see for yourself how good they really are and their products. So, so thanks again, Autofiber Australia, for coming on board, and hope you enjoys today's episode. Thanks.
Welcome to the Detailing Down Under podcast, the place for everything auto detailing in Australia right now. Here's your host, Dale Guthrie.
G'day and welcome to the Detailing Down Under podcast. I'm your host, Dale Guthrie. So we've got a ripper one today. Pretty excited. Not just one guest, we've got two. One of you've already heard of and know about, and a new one as well, which I'm pretty happy about as well. So he's pretty well known in the industry by quite a few. And my other co-host guest, we have Matty Gibb on. So how you going, Matty?
Yeah, I'm great. Thanks, mate. Doing
Good.
well today.
And also, all the way from Canberra, the ACT, we have Saad from Obsession Car Detailing. How you going, mate?
How you going? Good, thanks, mate. How are you?
Pretty good. So
Pretty good.
Thanks for making the time and the effort.
No. Glad to be here. I was able to get out of work a bit early, leave the guys to man the fort. And I said, I'm doing a podcast, so make sure nothing catches fire. And they all said, no worries. Yeah.
So for these who don't know, Matty's helped, he knows Saad pretty well, and we were always trying to jump on with a guest. And Matty's not doing too much at the moment, so he's got plenty of time, and thought we'd have him on as well and get him back. And as well as you, Saad, you're pretty well known in the game. So how long have you been in detailing altogether?
Man, so that's a tough one. I suppose I started semi-professionally back in 2011, 2012. I think my old website is still online, so you'll be able to find the very first post. It'd be somewhere around then. And then I basically opened a full-time workshop back in mid 2016, I think. Yeah, but about 2016. That's right. And did a few other things in between. And, eventually it was kind of like, well, this is what I've always wanted to do. So let's take a shot. I sold my car, used the money from the car for the what do you call it? When you pay rent, you got to pay a bond. Yeah. Paid the bond, painted the floors in a little warehouse, and was like, cool, let's go for gold. And I was like, you know what, worst case scenario, it doesn't work out, I can drive Uber or something and make ends meet. But luckily, it's been good. It's been good. We've been pretty lucky, and we've moved to a much larger premises about 2 years ago, and been just growing. It's been going from strength to strength.
Nice. So the whole time you've been in Canberra?
Yeah. Well, I was up on the Gold Coast for a few years, and I was studying medicine. Actually, I hated my job basically at the time, and I was like, what do I do? And a real good friend of mine was studying to be a doctor. Like, Saad, become a doctor. I'm like, yeah, you know what? There was a TV show at the time called House about a doctor, and I was like, yeah, it's a good show. I might do that. So I went and I sat the exam, got in, moved up to the Gold Coast, and I was still doing detailing all up in the Gold Coast. I would fly back down during the holidays to detail cars. And what I would do is customers would call me to book in, And I'll be like, oh, mate, we're booked out for like 6 weeks, but I can do it this week. So I created that illusion that we were super booked out, fly back down to Canberra, and like in a week would smash out like 6-7 cars, wouldn't sleep, and then go back up. And then my brother was also helping me out at the time with that business as well. And but the whole time I was studying medicine, I was still more interested in detailing, which is probably why medicine didn't work out. Like I failed by 1.5%. I failed second year of medical school by 1.5%, and they basically kicked me out and said I've got to leave and go and study something else, and then I might or might not be allowed back in. So I said, okay, no worries. And I thought, well, what can I do? And I actually whilst I was up in the Gold Coast, I detailed a few cars there as well. And I was like, well, what can I do? So I was like, well, I'm already well known in Canberra. People know me. So let's just try and open the business full time and see what happens. So I moved back down to Canberra and got a small workshop and went for it. And it's been good. It's been good.
Nice journey. Were you self-taught, or how did you learn everything?
Yeah, I was pretty much self-taught in the early days. And this is like prior to YouTube. I mean, YouTube existed, I think, back then, but it wasn't, really there. But it was pretty much, yeah. I remember the way it started was I finished uni and I bought my first car. It was a black Golf GTI, and I wanted to make it look amazing. And this is back in the days when forums were still huge. The what was the huge one? Detail. Yeah, there was that one, and there was an Australian one as well that was run by Joel from ZAS.
Yes.
Yeah, there was that one.
Detail Paradise.
Detail Paradise, yeah. And this was around when like the Kevin Brown method first kind of got happening. And I basically was looking around Canberra and I was trying to find someone who can polish my car and make it perfect. And I called a few places up, but none of them really inspired any confidence. When I asked them specific questions, none of them inspired confidence. I went to one place and he tried to sell me this 10-year paint protection. And this is back before ceramic coatings and stuff really existed. And then what he did was he got this, would have been some sort of just a sealant, applied it on a microfiber cloth and started rubbing my car with it. And then my car was a black Golf GTI and it was covered in dust. And he did that. And I was like, no, thank you. You're not doing my car,
That wasn't dry washing guard, was it?
Oh, God, no. I don't know what it was, but he had 10 years, this and that. And I was like, what is this? So I basically started doing some research and I bought myself, I can't remember who it would have been. There was Waxit was around at the time. Car Care Products was ZAS, everyone. So, but I basically bought myself a Maguire's DA, which you could get back then. It was
G220, yeah.
G220, or it was 110 in America and 220 here. And I think I still may have that around somewhere. I bought a whole bunch of pads and polishes and started going for it. And then there was a bloke online who had a Vauxhall Astra, essentially. And there was a really famous detailing thread about that, where he did something like 30 layers of Zano.
Oh, yeah, I remember that one.
Remember that one? Yeah. And then he did like 11 layers of Swiss wax on top. So I was like, fuck yeah, I'm going to do this. So I polished my car and I got it looking incredible, just through sheer, just doing it and going for it. It was looking incredible. And then I put on 11 layers of Zano on top. Okay. And then I bought some Swiss wax, and it was like, would have been around $150, $200 a tub. And I just did 3 or 4 layers of that, kept on just layering it on top. And everyone at work and everyone was like, dude, your car looks crazy. And they even commented, they were like, even when it was raining, my car still looked good. And then I basically was a member of the VW club here in Canberra, or the VW forum, the Canberra one. And a guy from there asked me if I could detail his car for the upcoming VW Nationals or whatever it was. I said, yeah, for sure. For fun. I did that. Then did another car, and then another. And then I was like, oh, you know what? I can do this as a side gig. So I basically did. So for the longest time, I was just working 7 days a week. I had my 9-to-5 job Monday to Friday, and then I'd spend Saturdays and Sundays detailing. So typically we would get, a customer would drop a car off on a Friday afternoon or Saturday morning. We would spend, one day correcting it, and then one day, applying the paint protection. And then around then, a bit after that is when OptiCoat first started coming out, which was one of the first kind of mainstream ceramic coatings, and they weren't even called ceramic coatings at the time. I think ceramic pro is what really who brought in the term ceramic coating. We just called it paint protection, but they were one of the first. So got on board with them early on, and that's what I did every weekend. Was just doing that. And in hindsight, I wish I just started the business sooner, full time. But I think doing it on weekends for a long time, building up the client base, kind of was a good learning experience. But also from day one, it was kind of like, if I'm going to spend my weekends doing this, making money, it has to be worth my time. I'm not going to be doing this for $500, So straight away, it was like, charge a lot, go for that upper end clientele, and do it. And this is all from my parents' garage, right?
Okay.
And now it's really funny because I go back to my parents' garage there, and it's a mess. Like, you look around the garage, and there's a giant kind of cooking pot there. There's cricket bats. There's all this stuff everywhere. And I'm like, how the hell do people bring their Porsches and Maseratis here? Like, if it was me, I wouldn't. But I suppose that was a different time. And back then, this whole high-end detailing studio thing didn't exist. No one had hexagon lights. Don't get me started about those.
Me either.
Yeah, no one had hexagon lights. No one had white rooms. No one had nothing. So it was halogen lights, and there was these LED torches you'd get from Bunnings that were like the paint correction kind of light. And and then around then, that was when Roops started coming out in Australia. So we bought the 15 mil one. Then we bought the 3-inch one, and I had a Bunnings rotary as well. The Azito one, which is really good. Yeah, really good for money. Yeah, can't complain. And just basically went for it. Learned a lot. Would just take on jobs. I remember the biggest job I did was a full wet sand on a Maserati. What was it? What's the Maserati? It's the 2-door. Go on my Facebook and it'll be on there. But it was a really expensive Maserati, because what happened was the guy came in wanting a correction and coating, and the bonnet was carbon fiber, but it looked terrible. It looked like it had been painted with a rattle can. So I said, look, man, we need to do something about this. So I just started sanding it. I had some vague ideas about wet sanding. So we started doing it and made the bonnet look incredible. And then the customer came and looked at it. And the problem was, now the bonnet looked incredible. The rest of the car in comparison didn't. So he was like, nah, do the whole thing. So like, all right, cool. Did the whole thing. Spent like 100 hours. And it looked incredible. So yeah, that was, look, and in hindsight, this is the benefit of being young and inexperienced. Like, if you were to ask me to do that now, I'd be like, no, thank you. But at the time, it was kind of like, you just do it, see what happens. I wasn't worried, You
haven't damaged any paint yet.
So yeah. So it hadn't, exactly. So now we're a lot more careful and everything. But back then, because it was a side hustle, you could afford to take these risks and whatnot. And there was that, and now here we are.
Yeah.
Back then, you would have been trying to get the good photos of the Maserati. We used to say great Instagram posts that'd make good for with a good Maserati, but back then,
yeah, well, there was no Instagram back. Well, there was Instagram back then, but Instagram back in the early days was more primarily for photographers. It was designed for photographers. It wasn't half naked chicks or cars or anything like that. It was photographers. So around then, Facebook existed, and I did have a Facebook page, so we used that. But what I would do with every car, once it was done, I would drive it down the road, take some real good photos, and put it on there. And I would also share them on the forums. So you'd do write-ups. I remember taking lots of photos, zooming in 50-50 shots before and afters, and posting them on the forums to show this is the before and afters, and this is the process. And it's funny, I think in those days that was actually a legitimate form of marketing, because even though you were posting and detailing forums to other detailers, the reality is that when people Google Maserati detailing Canberra or something like that, or wherever it was, those forum searches would show up. Like, hell, even today, if you Google Nissan Silvia engine light or whatever it is, you have these forum posts from 15 years that come up, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So that's what happened back then, and there were a lot of people who we got as a result of that, and then we did a few really nice cars, did a couple of Lambos, lots of Porsches, we did like the first Tesla that was delivered in Canberra. It was the Model S, back when the Teslas were like 300K or so. And again, this is all from my parents' garage. So it was pretty, it's pretty understanding of them, pretty accommodating of them. I didn't think that they didn't really support me. They were just kind of like, yeah, whatever. And they were like, Saad, stop wasting your time. But I think, but it's funny now, now it's kind of like, if there's a problem with the car or something needs fixing, or it's like, Saad, can you sort this out for us? I'm like, yeah, no worries. So it's funny how things change. But my parents were very patient because they lost their garage basically every weekend for a couple of years. And then whilst I was on the Gold Coast, my brother got on board and he learned how to do everything, and he was doing it as well, again as a weekend kind of deal. So yeah.
No, nice. What were the challenges back then? Once you probably moved from the garage into your own shop? What was the biggest?
I think the challenge is once you start the business, have a shop, the challenges are there's a whole lot more now to deal with, because running it as a legitimate business, because when we were running from the garage, it was a legitimate business, but not really. Like, we had an ABN and stuff like that, but we weren't too worried about it. We had no real expenses. Okay. So once you get a proper shop, all of a sudden you've got rent to pay, you've got electricity, insurance as well. That was the major thing. And looking back on it now the silliest thing I did was not have insurance. We did eventually, when running from my parents' garage, get insurance, but in the early days it didn't occur to me. So that's the number one thing I would say to people is, before you touch a car, make sure you have insurance. It's not expensive, but you need to have some sort of insurance. But there was the whole managing everything, and it was kind of trying to do everything as a one man shop as a one man show is very challenging, because I was trying to do the marketing. I was going to car shows and car events every weekend to get my name out. We had all the various expenses to pay, and it was tough sometimes, because even though we were busy, all of a sudden you go from making a lot of money and it's all kind of profit to, oh wow, actually, if I make $2,000, half of that is not mine. It goes straight to, there's GST, there's rent, there's insurance, power, electricity, superannuation, etc. And that's the thing. That's the number one thing which I tell people getting into it is, make sure you charge enough, because you think you're making $50 an hour, but you're not. I had one bloke, for example, come and work for me as a subby for a bit to help me with 1 or 2 jobs. We paid him like $40 an hour to do it, or $35 an hour, whatever it was, right? And after doing one job, he was like, oh, in future he doesn't want to do it because he can make $50 an hour doing his own detailing. And I'm like, bro, you need to, bro, yeah, you need to do some, you need to check that out, because you're rocking up here using all my chemicals, all my products, my everything. You're working in a nice indoor place, and you're getting paid this amount. Yeah, you're technically charging more when you're working on someone else's car through your own business, but you're not making that, you're not paying that. It's like people who drive, who do Uber Eats and Uber and stuff. They don't actually, a lot of them, they think they're making a lot of money, but they don't actually account for all the expenses, which is a common mistake, because you see the money and you get excited. That, oh, wow. You look at your bank account and you're like, oh my God, there's money in there. Pretty much whatever money you have in your bank account, I think as a business, 50% of it, you can immediately write off to expenses and tax and things like that.
Yeah. Once that guy would have his own, buying his own supplies and everything else and whatnot, it changes everything. And if you're not charging $100 an hour, at least in Australia now.
Oh, more, mate, more. Nah,
more.
It has to be more. Yeah.
120.
And these days, yeah. I mean, we try and charge a lot more, but it's, but yeah, you have to. And also the way I see it is, as a detailing business owner, we work on some very nice cars, and it's kind of like, most of our customers are in business as well. There's the occasional kind of lawyer or public servant or whatever, but a lot of them are in business, whether it's construction or whatever, and they've all got these nice cars. And I think, as detailers, we need to step our game up and understand, wait a minute, if you own a successful detailing business, there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to have a Porsche either. Yeah. And you know what? I see that in America and England, where I see the successful guys there, they have really nice cars themselves. So I'm like, in Australia, we need to get beyond this kind of this mentality here is a bit different. We need to,
I agree.
Yeah. So it's kind of like one of the things I always say is you have to decide whether you want to be a artist or a business person. And that's with detailing, with PPF, all this kind of stuff. Early on I was an artist, and I still am. Like now and again, I'll the guys are having trouble or something, or polishing something. I'm like, give me that. Let me show how it's done. Get on there, get this perfect finish in a minimal number of passes, minimal number of everything. And my staff are like, whoa, how'd you do that? I'm like, that's why I'm the boss.
That's right. Exactly right.
But you have to decide whether you want to be a detailer, whether you want to be an artist or a business person. Unfortunately, it's very difficult to be an artist and be successful in business as well. You got to find that balance, and I think I found that balance where we do really, really high-end work. We do the absolute best that we can, but there's a line that we won't cross. We're like, you know what, like, we're not going to spend 100 hours on this car. It's just not worth it. It's not worth our time. We're not going to dismantle this whole car to PPF it. We'll do what we can. We're going to remove the simple things, but I'm not going to go in there removing door cards and removing bumpers and silly things like that. You know what I mean? So you got to find that line. And it becomes an ego thing. And I think the other problem here is, especially in this day and age, is that a lot of detailers, they and Ivan says this a lot, Ivan LaCroix, who everyone knows who Ivan LaCroix is, that stop marketing to other detailers. It's like, stop marketing to other detailers. No one cares. Customers don't care. Sure, 50-50 shots are cool. Some of these things are cool, but you need to market to customers, not to other detailers. Stop, throw your ego out of the door. Basically, stop worrying about your ego and stop worrying what other people think.
No, that's spot on. So, Matty, how did you get to know Saad? Where'd all that come from?
God, I gotta be honest, I can't even freaking remember exactly, but I know, of course, we eventually got to meet in Adelaide because the guy that I was working for part-time while I was trying to get mine going in 06, 07, 08, after many years of doing it sort of from home and other things, Tim from Wingard, who does PPF. He's been doing that since 2010 or 2011. Obviously, you came over here and got to finally catch up and whatever else. But I honestly, I've actually forgotten. I'm ashamed to say. Oops. Sorry. Must have pushed something.
Did the sound go back, or can you still hear me? Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
I heard Matt on a podcast.
Yes.
It was with the auto. Yeah, welcome to the Audio podcast. That one, is it that one? The really the one.
Jimbo.
Welcome. Yeah, Jimbo. That's right. Yes. Yeah. Same. I heard him on there, and Matt, I was like, whoa, this guy's really technical and is like as nerdy as I am when it comes to this kind of stuff. And he's in Australia, and I don't know this guy. I should know him because I've always been, I've always considered myself a bit of a scientist in everything I do. I try and approach everything I do from a scientific perspective. I want to know what works, why it works, and everything like that.
Yep.
And that's how I approach detailing and paint correction and stuff as well. It wasn't just random. I tried, experiment, do it properly. And when I heard Matt talking about various pads and foams and abrasive technologies, I was like, whoa, this guy's in Australia and he's really nerdy in a good way about detailing like I am. So I just tracked him down. I just sent him a message like, yo, how you going?
I'm still getting stalked by people, which is good.
Yeah.
In a way.
And then, we just started talking and stuff. And then, like Matt said, I went to Adelaide to spend some time at Wingard with Tim. And when I was there, that's when we met. So it's been good.
It's been good. And as I said, I don't know why, but I just have this analytical sort of technical brain. That's just the way I am. And unfortunately, that's why I wasn't as good in business as you are, sir. But that's okay. I'm proud of what I did. I'm very proud of what the results I achieved, people's cars, the work I put out. But in business-wise, probably was a bit of a failure in some degree, but it wasn't a failure fully. But obviously, I totally agree with what you're saying about business now, though. So I'm just lucky when I started mine, there was hardly anybody else around that was actually good.
I think me too as well. When I started, there was no one else really around. There were one or two of the detailing businesses in Canberra. And I did, even when I was going part-time, I did I saw some negative comments about me on various Facebook groups by other businesses, and I was like, yeah, whatever, I don't really care.
Just put the blinkers on and keep going, mate. That's what you do.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, well, I don't really. And at the time, I was like, well, I don't really care. I've got a job. I'm doing this as a professional hobby, as a part-time thing, for fun and to, and whatnot. At the time, like I'd thought about when I first started and got reasonably successful part-time. When I was booked out, 6 weekends in a row, basically. It was kind of like, well, maybe I should do it full time, but I was too scared to take the risk and didn't really have anyone encouraging me. Everyone was like, no, don't. So, yeah. So, in hindsight, I probably should have just listened to gone with my gut, but it was good. Like I said, it was good getting that experience. And actually, the best thing about medical school for me was a large portion of medical school training is teaching you how to speak to people from all walks of life, and that's about taking their history, asking them about their history and empathy and stuff like that. And that honestly is like the best training for sales that you can get. It's
I was going to say that.
Yeah, it was hilarious. It was like it was funny. Like I messaged one of my professors afterwards, and I was like, man, even though I didn't make it, I'm so thankful to you for that specific aspect, because I literally apply everything that I learned from there. I apply that when speaking to customers. And in medical school, they call them empathy statements. And you have to empathize with your patient, and you do the exact same thing with a customer. And it's about making them feel good. And it's very similar to what you'd learn in like sales training. And also I was lucky enough to work at JB Hi-Fi, and I've worked at a bike shop and a few other kind of sales places. And I would say that's some of the best training you can do. Going and working in like a retail environment where you have to sell. Yeah, that's like the best training you can have for learning how to talk to people and learning to sell. Because ultimately, that's actually now if you think about it, right, that's a more important skill than detailing. Like anyone, look, you can train most people to detail a car to a high enough standard, to that 85-90% standard, okay, which is more than good enough for most people, okay.
If you can't sell,
Exactly. And that's what I pride myself on is, I'm not a dodgy used car salesman. I pride myself on giving the customer what they need and what's appropriate for them. I'm not here to rip anyone off. And a lot of the times I tell people as well, no, that's too much money. You should spend less. And actually, funnily enough, when you do that, that often has the opposite effect. It's like I tell customers, no, don't go the full PPF, just do the half, because it's not worth the money, on your car.
Yeah,
and it's almost
you get burnt for being honest.
No, you don't though. They end up going for the full PPF anyway. For example,
being honest.
Yeah, exactly, because they respect you, man. You see, and it's true. And I think that's the number one thing with sales. You got to be honest. You want to give the customer what they want, but you have to learn to communicate. You have to learn. I think sales talking is communication. Giving them information in a jargon-free manner, and being honest and having them trust you, basically building that trust. I've had customers come to me and they've said to me that the reason they came to us, they went to another shop, but then they came to us and they said it was because of me, that they felt more comfortable with me. They felt that I wasn't pushy. Because I ask people, obviously they go to other places to get quotes and stuff. Once the job is done, I ask them, well, so you went here and there, but you chose here. Why is that? And they're like, oh, because, you're, the way you were, you were more honest and you weren't pushy. You didn't call me back 5 times trying to lock me in. You weren't trying to sell me. You weren't trying to sell me anything, which is paradoxical. The way to sell them something is to not sell them anything. You know what I mean?
And you're genuine.
Yeah, exactly. And look, I'm not an expert in this. I just talk to people. Oh, did it? Is it back now?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I think
totally agree.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing in business, just being honest, and you hear that a lot, and trust. So
yeah, 100%.
Rather than try and bullshit and tell a story and sell them rubbish. So
exactly.
I have a particular statement that I make, and mine is never skimp and never get greedy.
Yeah,
that's one of mine.
Yeah, that's a good one.
So you're right, Kiga.
No, I was going to say. A friend tell, on that similar note, and don't never skimp and never get greedy. A friend said to me as well once, like, the best advertising that you can do is to do a good job and go above and beyond within reason. Like, don't, but do the best job you can. That's the best advertising you can do. I mean, like, I haven't spent any money on advertising in years. Like, a few years ago, my accountant told me to stop spending money on ads and let's see what happens. And I haven't spent any money on advertising in years.
Yep. You're established now.
Yeah. I mean, even then, most of our customers were word of mouth anyway. I see my competitors, I see they've taken out a large full local newspapers. What's going on here? Your default. Oh, you can still hear me? What's going on here? What, the microphone keeps
cutting in and out a little bit. Yep.
Technology.
1 second. Yeah, because it keeps saying your default microphone has changed. Yeah, you can hear me fine though. Yep, it's still good.
Yep.
Yeah.
It just cuts out.
But just basically be the best advertising you can do is do as good a job as you can, and that's what we've always done as well.
Yeah, you were saying about like these other guys are taking out full page ads.
Oh yeah, they're taking full page ads out in papers, which I think firstly is silly because no one reads. Yeah. Who's reading these little free magazines anyway?
Who even buys papers anymore?
Yeah, exactly. And it's kind of like, man, you're spending a lot of money. Like, I had a call the other day from like the local AM radio station wanting me to take an ad out.
Oh,
and I was like, thanks guys, I'd love to, but look, your demographics like 80-year-olds. Like, no one, if you don't, I don't think there's many 80-year-old. I mean, there are some, but the 80-year-olds who are into cars, they find us. You know what I mean? They're part of all the car clubs. So yeah,
that's right.
So what were you doing in Adelaide at Wingard? Were you training or just
basically? So I'd started doing PPF a while beforehand, and I was speaking to Tim, and he said, look, come down for a week. So I did. And I've been doing PPF for a while already, but I wanted to get to the next level, and I wanted to see what it was like in other shops. So I went down to Tim for a week, and that's where I really learned a lot. One of the things I learned was when to let things go, because I think with PPF, I was looking at it with a detailer's eye. So tiny speck of dust, tiny imperfection, rip it off, redo it. Which is great. But, at Wingard, which is probably one of the best, if not the best PPF place in Australia, I would see things and I was installing film, like, oh no, I got to rip it off and redo it. I was like, nah. They were like, no, leave it. You will never see that, the customer will never see that. Not only that, in the process of trying to fix it, you'll probably introduce more debris. Yeah. And also it's film. It's not, can't, it's not possible to get it perfect. It's simply not possible. I don't care what anyone says, it's not possible.
There's so much dust in the air, no matter where you are.
It's not so much in the air, it's on the car, it's on you. It's short of having a NASA spec clean room, you're not gonna be able to get it perfect.
No, you can't.
And I've seen some of the places in London and Dubai and stuff as well. I've been there, but so that was the main thing there. That's why I was in Adelaide to basically get a bit of hands-on experience at a PPF shop there. And because I was part of Expel, we use Expel, so Tim is with Expel as well. So just went there for a week and learned a lot. Basically, it was really, really good.
Yeah, and of course, my thing with Tim was that back in whenever I was sort of quiet in 07, 08, probably 08, from about 08 to about 2012, I worked part-time for Tim and worked with Ratinder there. He's second number 2 guy. He's a really lovely bloke. Whenever he had a Bentley or a Porsche or a Mercedes or some other supercar at Splash Car Wash, to get paint correction and do G-Technique coating back when it's the original C1 days.
Yes.
He'd bring me in and we'd just be there for a day and a half on a car or whatever, but 3 of us on a car and do it in a day, or we'd get like a 3-step done in a day or something like that, or a day and a half.
Coating. I think there's a photo of you, Matty, with
a Lexus.
Wearing a lab coat in a dealership. Yeah.
We did that. We had. I think that was the second.
So why were you wearing lab coats? Were you taking the piss, or was it just you being funny?
Tim goes, "You're wearing lab coats for doing this."
Okay.
We're going into Lexus Valley. We're wearing lab coats, so we look professional.
I think I think a very early video I made as well. I think I either wore a lab coat or I wore glasses. I did something stupid like that. Thinking it would look cool.
Man, that Lexus paint we worked on, that was soft, man. It was So soft.
Really? What Lexus model was it?
That was the supercar.
Oh, the LFA.
LFA.
Yeah, because Lexus paint is like amongst my favorite.
I love Lexus paint.
Beautiful.
It's awesome. It's awesome. But this one was a little bit soft, so fresh. But I thought it was the first actual one of those in Adelaide, but I think it was the second one.
Okay.
I think there was a yellow one before that. So we paint corrected that and then coated that in Lexus of Adelaide in their showroom for this Chinese mining company guy who actually come over. He came over for 6 months to Adelaide and he bought a car or something.
So he came to 6 months and bought himself an LFA whilst he was there.
Yeah.
Jeez, to be that, that's mental.
So that was one of the most expensive cars I've worked on.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, and I think Tim started doing like PPF on front bumpers in like 2010, 11.
Yeah, back when he had, and he's come a long way as well, So he's basically the like number one place in Australia. Like, there are others might disagree with me, but
he's bloody good.
Yeah, and like, he has the ability to design patterns as well, which most places don't. And the places that do design their own patterns, they're garbage patterns. Whereas Tim's patterns, the ones that they design in-house are, I actually complained to Tim and I said, Tim, your patterns are actually too good. Like they're too edge to edge and they're too perfect. So they're difficult to install because of that, and he was like, fucking deal with it. It's perfection. Yeah.
Now, I want to mention something about PPF that happened the other day at one of my friend's shops in America, because he's doing it now. This tech film, I think. And he had this customer that literally basically said that because he didn't do the front fender and like put the PPF all the way up, all the way through the wheel arch to the engine, basically, he was annoyed and he wanted to basically have like 3/4 of his money back and have him peel the film off and then go to another shop because the other shop said it was crap because it didn't go all the way through the wheel arch to the engine. Hello, who the hell PPFs all the way to the engine? All the way through the plastic wheel arch?
I don't know. It's not possible.
It's just weird.
Well, see, I have a policy there as well. Other shops. Like I often have customers come to me and say, "Oh, I had this job done elsewhere. Can you let me know if it's any good?" I don't comment. I just say, "Yeah, I'm sure it's fine." I'm not interested in doing that. Now if someone's had a job done elsewhere and they're not happy with it and they'd like me to redo it, yeah, we'll redo it for you. And that happens a lot, but I'm not going to comment or badmouth other shops because there's so many variables. The problem is customers lie. Okay. They lie.
They do.
So, it's like, hang on, the problem is you went to that other shop and you paid for their Clint's Crazy Bargains. Actually, is Clint's Crazy Bargains still around? Whatever. You paid for the Clint's Crazy Bargains PPF package. Okay. And you're not happy with it. Now, you're not telling me that. You're not telling me that you paid for the absolute cheapest package, but you got what you paid for. Now you're not happy with it. And now you're going to now you want me to critique their work. Well, I can't critique their work without knowing all the information. And it's just not a cool thing to do as well. Like I had, there was another detailing shop here, which did a Mustang or something, and they damaged the paint or something like that, or something happened. And now the guy basically wasn't happy with the outcome. So now he wanted to sue him and take him to court or something, and called me in to have a look at his car and asked me if I'd be able to testify and give a written report. And I said, nah, mate. I said, Canberra's a small place. We all know each other. I understand you're annoyed, but I'm not going to get into this game where we are badmouth someone else's work. I'm like, mistakes happen. Shit happens. If they've offered to fix it, great. But you wanting to sue them is not a cool thing to do as well. I'm not going to get involved in that. No, exactly. So that's the thing. I don't like to. I think that's a good advice for all business people as well, all people in this industry as well. Don't badmouth your competitors. Don't say anything bad about them to customers. It just makes you come across as unprofessional.
You can actually burn them more than the actual other guy. Yeah. No, it definitely can. You can definitely burn the guy that's bad mouthing more than the one that's getting bad mouthed.
Exactly.
It just shouldn't happen.
No.
Game's got to be much more well, it's probably getting more professional every year, but it's got to get better still. Yeah.
Even with coatings, like people ask me, oh, so-and-so uses so-and-so coating, they're down the road from you, or so-and-so they use that coating. What's that coating like? I just say, you know what, so-and-so's an established, reputable business. I'm sure their coating's really good as well. I've got no experience with it.
Yep.
I'm not, that's it. no need to
Pound the
say,
pence. Yep.
yeah, no need to say, oh no, it's shit. It's like that. And look, actually, the honest answer that I give most customers these days is, guys, it's 2022. Most coatings are pretty good now. Like it's not 2010 anymore when they're, most are pretty good, except when it comes to graphene coatings. Customers will ask me about, oh, do you have a graphene coating? I'll go, yeah, I've got a graphene coating. I can do that for you. I'm not, but my only argument against graphene coatings is that, look, none of the 5 or 10 big detailing companies have got a graphene coating. Only the real small, these small guys who popped up yesterday or last 6 months have got graphene coatings. Where were we? So yeah, I think that was we went off on a tangent there.
That's all right.
It's all related,
Yeah.
You can ask them questions now.
How many employees you got there working for you now?
Right now, I've got 3 full-timers, basically. Yeah, 3 full-timers. I've got a couple of casuals who rotate in and out now and again. But I would say right now, I've built up a core team of 3 people, of 3 full-timers. And we had a few guys casual as well, but they haven't, since I've built up the good team, we haven't had to use them in a while. So that's been really good.
And pretty much PPF is your whole game?
No, it's become that. When I first started PPF, I might order 1 roll a month. Now it's a couple of rolls a week, and that's still not as much as some of the bigger shops around. But we're in Canberra, so it's a relatively small place. But we do, like for example, this week, this is a quiet week actually. So we've got front end PPF and ceramic coating job, a full PPF job, another ceramic coating job, and another full PPF job. So most of the cars we do, I would say the number one thing is PPF and ceramic. So front end PPF and then ceramic coating, the rest, and on top of the PPF and wheels off and things like that. That's the most popular thing, and that's what I like to do the most as well. I don't necessarily, from a business standpoint, I don't like doing full cars because I think it's more profitable just to do the front end and ceramic coat them. But as the demand grows, you have to do full cars. Also, I don't like having cars in the shop for too long. You get bored of looking at them. So it's nicer just to in and out, like that, which you can do that quite quickly with a front end job. But I would say, sales wise, PPF is probably the majority, because I should probably talk to my accountant and check, but I would say sales wise PPF is a majority. That's because PPF is high ticket, but in terms of actual profit wise, it's probably about 50-50, because ceramic coatings are generally more, and corrections and coatings are generally more profitable because of the reduced expense. The number one problem with PPF is that it's very, very expensive. It's very expensive. And we do window tinting as well in house, and we do a bit of vinyl wrapping, not a lot. I don't like doing it. Just one of my guys, he's a pretty good vinyl wrapper, and when he joined, he said, "Oh, Saad, we should start doing some color change." I was like, "Yeah, okay, let's do it." But after doing a few, I'm just like, it's not worth the time. And in the time it takes to wrap a full car, you can do several front end jobs. And not only that, like, people who want vinyl color change wraps are weird. It's like they expect it's going to be like a paint job. They expect it's going to be perfect. They'll complain that there's an inlay here or there's a seam there. I'm like, mate,
what do you expect?
Exactly. Whereas people who get PPF don't complain about these things. They understand. They're a bit more sensible. And also, generally speaking, we did a full color change on a McLaren recently, and we do some nice cars now and again. But generally speaking, people who want color change wraps, I found, are people with 1995 Honda Civics who can't afford a paint job.
That sounds about right.
Or AU Falcons. I know. Who can't afford a paint job. I had someone.
I can afford a paint job on my car, but I can't afford to. But I also, it's a case of don't polish it anymore because there's like 5 microns of clear left.
Yeah, exactly.
5 layers of coating on top of it.
One of my good friends, Miguel, he runs a business down here called Signature Wraps, and he specializes primarily in color change wrapping and does a bit of PPF as well. His business has changed a bit. I was talking to him, like, one of the things that he's gotten into and is doing a lot of is the commercial signage, the printing and that kind of stuff. But he goes, that's so much better. You print it off, you stick it on. Customers aren't concerned. They want the graphics to look good, and that's it. Whereas people who want color change, people who want color change, they watch too many Yanimais videos and they expect it's going to be like that. You know, they watch that and they think, I was like, no, we're not taking the doors off of your car to wrap it. Okay.
No, we're not.
No, you know, I said, you know what, we can do that. If you want to hire someone, you hire a tech who can come in and do all that. We'll do it, and you pay them. But we're not doing that for you. No, thank you. And also, even the problem with color changes, even just for minimal, you know, even if you don't want to go overboard, it still requires a fair bit of dismantling. And on a lot of new cars, it's an absolute pain to dismantle. You know, for example, you know, the window molds. On a lot of cars, they just pop out. Teslas are great, they just pop out. But on Audis, for example, the rear ones come out. Yeah, the rear ones come out, but the front ones, in order to remove them, you have to like remove the door card. Like we just did a full stealth PPF job on an AMG, an E43. And we had to like remove the door card to get and remove the mirrors to get that molding out. And I'm just like, you know, these little things, the time it adds up, the risk of breaking adds up. It's not worth the risk over time. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, what do you find? Have you done any window tint on Range Rovers and finding you've got to cut the rubbers to get them? Right,
yeah, not me personally, but Kelvin, who's my number one, who's a tinter, he goes, yeah, it's something you have to do. You know, luckily he's got like 15 years of experience with tinting, so he knows every car. So a car will come in for tinting and he'll boom, take it apart and do all that. I'm like, yo, what are you doing? He's like, don't worry, I've got this. You know, I always freak out because I'm like, man, you got your brand new Audi RS3 and you're taking off the rubbers and stuff. But luckily it's not too big a deal. You know, you can't, with tinting, you can get away without doing all that. But the way he explains it to me is that if you don't remove the bottom rubber, there's a much higher chance of dirt in the tint, and which is why when you see, you know, tint jobs at dealerships, they're always full of dirt for that reason, because they don't dismantle them. So
the guys at work do.
Yeah,
been working.
Yeah,
we had a Honda in probably a few months ago, and he did the same process he's always done on other cars, and does the right thing, and he blades them and whatever else, or cleans them a certain way. And this front glass wasn't like the rear glass or like any other car's glass. He literally scratched it just doing anything to the glass. Like
yeah, you got to be really careful, man, with tinting. Luckily, like I said, Kelvin, who works for me, he's got 15 years experience. He worked in Malaysia. You work in Malaysia and was there. So when you work as a tinter in Asia, it's really high volume, so you learn very quickly. So he's done everything. So he's been the number one addition to my business, I would say.
Yeah, that's great, man. Good people are hard to find.
What are your thoughts of the coloured PPF these days?
Oh, look, it's great. The black stuff I love. Like I've done the roof of my car in black. I love how it looks. But I'm really beyond doing roofs black because it looks so much better than vinyl, But beyond doing roofs and stuff, I'm not really interested in doing color changes using colored PPF because it's the material. Look, it can be done, and there are guys out there who do it. But in Australia, in order to do it and be profitable, you got to charge 10K a car because A, the material costs a fortune, and B, getting it around all the corners and stuff like that is very challenging. And in some cases, you have to vinyl wrap it first in some areas and then put the PPF on top.
Wow.
So in that, because there are some corners where the PPF will not go in. So you have to get a similar color vinyl or get some black vinyl or something and do that first, do the edges first, and then put the colored PPF on top. So for that reason, I'm not really interested in getting into that. Because and look, it looks awesome. Like I did a fender or two on my car and I was like, man, this looks good. I want to do the whole thing. But the guys who want to do that, let them do it. Again, it comes down to artist versus business. Let the guys out there who are artists and want to do that and are happy, they can do that. We use it, the black stuff, just for like roofs and spoilers and things like that. But the actual colored stuff, I'm not really interested in.
It sounds annoying.
Yes, it's not worth the time. Honestly, it's not worth the time for us anyway. Now, look, if you could charge 15K for a car, then hell yeah, but no one's going to pay 15K for it. That's the problem.
My friend in the US, he gets 10K, 12K a car.
Yeah, exactly. There are guys in Australia. The market's not there yet. No one's going to pay that.
No, it's not quite there yet. No.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that the colored PPF, if you're willing to pay that much, then you're better off getting the peelable stuff.
Yeah,
they call it spray on PPF. But like, Yeah, like the Engenco, yeah, the way it works is basically you spray a layer of peelable paint or something down.
Yep.
Then on top of that, you spray your color, and then you're clear. And then later on, you can peel it off, and it looks perfect. It looks exactly like paint, because you're
halo
using
or
actual
clarity
paint
coat or
that's
whatever
painted
else.
on top of a peelable base layer. Yeah, exactly. But if you're just gonna, but for that you need a booth and things like that. Again, that's something that I was like, oh, this would be really cool to do. But even the places that overseas who have gotten and are doing it, even for them, it's not a big ticket or profitable item
Yeah, it's a
because
lot
the
of work.
amount of labor that is required for that. It's not worth it. You have to charge a lot, and again, you still dismantle the whole cars if you're doing a respray.
As far as me goes today, I've just been researching the looking at different machines, doing some brainstorming on some other ideas, sent a few companies some emails about possible things. But found that super shiner thing the other day, and certainly going to be. I think it's going to be at SEMA this week or next weekend. Self-feeding machine, basically a polisher where you put the polish in a cartridge. Comes in a cartridge, you put it in the top of the machine, and basically it disperses it through the spot, through the shaft, and custom made spiral backing plates and pads and things. And it's something I've had an idea for since 2008 that I've always wanted, but just didn't know how to make it happen. Besides, getting a water hole backing plate for a whetstone polisher and sort of drilling a hole in the frigging shaft, which is not ideal. But I knew the day would come when someone would do it. So, people can just go supershiner.com, you'll find it. And went on to one of my favourite little companies called Proxon. I've got their WPE corded electric polisher, which is a rotary, which is 1 inch and 2 inch. And they've now got a random orbital with 11 mil orbit and cordless or corded. But I've emailed them saying I'd like the machine speed to be a little bit lower because it's a bit high. It's like 1100 starting, which is probably okay for random, but for rotary, it's a bit high. With pads that small, especially.
You reckon there's a lot of smaller companies out there now trying to challenge Flex and Roops with their machines?
I don't know if there's that many out there. I mean, I don't think there's that many really. Obviously, we know of ShineMate, Max Shine, and those guys. They're doing some pretty good machinery, but I wish a lot more companies would. And I'm not because I don't like Flex or Roops. I love them, but I don't understand why they don't want to go into the market, develop some stuff and do something different. It's just there's so much evolution and revolution still to go with polishing machines. Unless we get to the day where they just put such thin paint on you can't do anything anymore. But that's probably a long way off. But I just welcome. I wish Vine would do stuff. I wish you got companies like Ebenstock, Eisenblatter, Sparky Power Tools, which got a head office in Germany, but they're also manufacturing in Bulgaria, and they make like 25 different rotary polish models, from the smallest to these 2,500 watt monsters and angle grinders and random orbitals and stuff like this, and all these other things. And supposedly they make stuff for Metabo and other companies. You got Hikoki, which was Hitachi, which now owns Metabo, I believe, or they did at one point. And they haven't brought out a new rotary polisher in like 30 years almost. It seems it's like there's so much evolution to go. Rotary machines that are quieter, got more variety in terms of speed settings. You could even have no triggers, one with triggers and other different features. Because to me, a lot of the European polished rotaries are too loud, and the Japanese ones are a bit quieter, but I like even quieter again and far more ergonomic. Every machine, even the Roops, could be far more ergonomic. Although the new HLR is a pretty good design.
Yeah.
So I just wish more would go on, because it's just like, oh well, it's Flex, Roops, and ShineMate sort of thing, and maybe a bit of Osram, and that's about it. Like, it's like, where's everybody else? Why don't they bother? Is it just a case of they just couldn't be bothered because the Chinese will just knock it off, or is it just an R&D cost thing that don't really see the market for it, or it's not as big as I think it is? Don't know, but it's annoying.
I've just looked at the Super Shiner thing you sent. So
yeah, there's some videos on YouTube of it that shows how it works in a graphic. And look, like I said, the first early version he did was like him attaching like a plastic tube to a machine and doing that, and that's clunky. But then the next one is, which he's going to be showing, I think this next weekend is, will be out probably second quarter of next year. Is it still a little bit clunky, but the 2024 model rotary and random orbital versions look pretty interesting. So I just think it's a very, very good way of doing it, because you're not having to constantly tip and shake and pour and polish around through the machine. But just a matter of also, I think also is, are there any negative downsides to that actual system of doing it, of dispensing it? Is it going to clog up in the line when you're not using it for a week or two or something?
Yeah.
Other stuff like that. But yeah,
the video could probably do some bit more work on their marketing, I reckon.
Yeah. And
it's pretty basic.
There's a video of him buffing with it, and he's putting it on, but he's doing it on a car with too light a color where you can't see the polish, and you can't really see much of anything. But at least the guy's working out a way to make it happen, and I like the fact he's doing it. And I think the polishers they've got, they've gone to the semiconductor sort of polishing semiconductor wafer people or whatever else, and made some new polishes that are a bit different to everything else in the market. And it's the claim is that it's going to keep the temperatures down even more with the cooling and stuff. So
it'd be interesting. I've never seen anything like that. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, it's different.
Yeah. You wonder how.
Yep.
You wonder how heavy it'll be as well. That'd be the other drama.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. It's getting it ergonomic is the key, and again, it's also about how good is the build quality of the machines they have. Are they their own machine? Are they having it made in China or somewhere else? How powerful are they, and things like that? Because you want machines to be reliable.
Yeah.
So, but like I said, I'm always looking at stuff, thinking I've had a lot of ideas over the years, and eventually they come out, or some of them don't, but some of them do. And I've always believed that there's a way you could do it, and I think it's a good thing. The only thing I wish I could do, which would be a massive game changer, but the closest thing we've got is a pad washer 4000, is like some kind of polish paint residue control catchment system as you're polishing, so your pads are always clean as you're working. But that's pretty much a pipe dream. Yep. I can't see how the hell to make that work. It's not like dry sanding where you got dust, you got moisture sticking to the pad. You can't. So but as I said, it's always good to come up with these things, but whether they work, I can never work out to make them work. But it's interesting. So
looks like he's come back.
I hope so.
Yo,
here he is.
So but anyway, sorry mate, where were we?
I was just talking about the super shiner and some machine stuff while you were away.
Oh, sweet as.
I'll start with we talk about the culture, and you talked about how it's pretty small with being in Canberra. So is there many other detailers you get along with over there?
Yeah, I mean, there's a few. Look, within like 1 kilometer of me, there's 2 other shops, and I'm mates with one of them and not so much the other one. But no one is friends with the other one, because they kind of, they're a detailing and wrap shop and stuff as well. And they basically just make it their business to badmouth everyone. So no one's friends with them.
Oh, they won't be around eventually.
Oh yeah, they've been around a lot. Their price is very cheap, and whatnot. But whatever, I don't concern myself with them. I know for a fact that they've badmouthed me, the customers, because customers have told me. So there's that. And then there is there's a few guys who operate who work from home on a casual basis, and I'm friends with them. Some of them buy products from me. They buy microfibers and stuff like that from me in bulk for what's needed. And then there's another place, a full-time place, which I'm pretty good friends with the owner as well. So and he refers customers to me for PPF, and I referred customers to him because sometimes someone calls you wanting to get a job done, and it turns out you're a bit far away from them, or they're a bit elderly and they don't want to travel out to you, so I send them their way. And like I already mentioned Miguel at Signature Wraps as well. He's not a detailer, but does PPF as well, and we're good friends and help each other out as well. So I think it's important to make sure you get on with everyone and kind of build a little network. Also, just it's important that to ensure that customers don't take the piss as well. Because I had one customer, for example, once call me. He asked me for a quote for a front end PPF and a 911, And and he was like, I gave him a quote, and he said, "Oh, I got a quote from so and so for $1,200. Can you match that?" I'm like, "No, you didn't." So, so then I called my mate, and he didn't. I mean, obviously, this customer didn't know that I'm friends with this other shop. So I called him, say, "Mate, you give me a quote of $1,200 for 911s," and he's like, "Fuck off, no way. Who's this guy?" And I told him, and he just laughed. He goes, "No, mate." And the quote that he gave was pretty much exactly the same as mine. So little things like that, it's important. Like the other day as well. This happens a lot. Customers, they try and pull a fast one. They try and get you to, they think by stating these absurd numbers that you'll price match and they'll get a good deal. But it's like, mate, I wasn't. Yeah, I wasn't born yesterday, and I'm friends with the guy who you're referring to, and I know how much he charges. So no, and plus the price you have quoted means that the business will not be able to survive because it is not it's not viable. You can't do it.
It's not exactly that price. Hell no.
Yeah. So look, to answer the question, yeah, there are a few others, and yeah, we'll know each other, and we get on. We get on. There's no except for one shop which no one gets on with. We do get on. I mean, there's a place in Belconnen called Kim's Car Detailing, which, funnily enough, is owned by a bloke called Jono, not Kim, and. And Jono's a good bloke. He does a lot of dealership work because he's like pretty much underneath a lot of the dealerships. And he sends PPF work my way. He does a lot of brake caliper painting. Customers want their calipers painted. I just say, yeah, go to him and get it done, or I can get it done for you. Same difference. And we help each other out a lot. And he told me people ask him about us, and he says, yeah, look, the difference between him and us is here you go there, you pay your money, in and out, done. With us, you pay your money, and it's going to take a long time, and it's a different market, and he acknowledges that. He knows that because he's got a big a big workforce and stuff as well. But again, he does primarily a lot of dealership stuff, and for him, it's a different market. So we don't really compete in the same market, and we refer work to each other. We refer work to each other as well. Even down the road from us, Dapper, I refer work to them all the time, and I've helped them out with PPF and things like that as well. Like initially when they started, they were just charging too little, and I helped them with their pricing and things like that. So yeah, we're all pretty good. We'll get along pretty well because it's not worth it. It's not worth trying to, it's not a Coke versus Pepsi thing. And hell, even Coke and Pepsi, the CEOs were mates. They all got along. It was just a game for them. BMW and Mercedes, same deal. So if these large multi-billion-dollar corporations, they get on, like, I'm pretty sure your local detailing shop can do it without trying to sabotage each other.
Same with the chemical companies. I'm sure there's most of the guys from all different chemical companies.
Yeah, exactly. Like you see them at SEMA, for example. Yeah. You go to SEMA. I've never been, but from what I've seen, you see all the reps and all the sales guys and everyone from all the different companies all hanging out together. No one's there's no animosity. It's just business, man. It is what it is. There's enough room in the market for everyone. That's what I feel. The best example, best analogy someone said to me is, everyone thinks that by having more businesses, everyone gets a smaller slice of the pie. And that's the wrong way to think. The right way to think is you got to make the pie bigger. If you think about the percentage of people who actually get detailing services, ceramic coatings, paint protection film, it's tiny. It's minuscule. It's not a big amount. The market penetration is really small. So it's about the more of you there are there around, and as long as you're doing quality work, and you're not putting the industry in a bad light, it's going to create more awareness ultimately. I mean, look, I see myself as the example. Like prior to me in Canberra, there were some companies doing PPF, but not really how I was, and not pushing it. Since I started doing PPF, there've been like 3 or 4 other companies who have popped up, and they're riding the wave that I created, and riding that kind of that awareness I created. At least I think I created. I don't want to sound arrogant or anything, but put it this way: prior to me, there was like 2 other companies in Canberra doing PPF. One of them doesn't do it anymore because he got over working on cars, which I understand, and I'm mates with him. And there was another company who did PPF and vinyl, and they're still around, but again, he only does it part time. So I started doing it, and I was, every weekend I was at the car shows. I was at Cars and Coffee, all these things, kind of promoting and advertising and creating awareness. Then, I've made a few real nice videos and PPF'd a few real nice cars, really pushed it, advertised it a lot. And then these two other shops around me, they both started doing PPF as well after I had been doing it for a long time. Like they used to get me to do their work, and now they're doing it themselves. I'm like, yeah, man, go for it. That's all good. No issues. But we've created more awareness. There's more people out there than there were. There's more people out there who are aware than there were before, and that can only be a good thing. So I remember, years ago when I first started, I'd get no inquiries. Now it's like, multiple phone calls every day asking about PPF. So it's good.
It's definitely going to go.
It's like ceramic coatings. Years ago, no one knew about coatings, and it's only because of the number of businesses that popped up doing it that everyone is aware, and the market has become bigger as a result, and there's always going to be these different price points and different businesses. Some businesses are more successful, the jokers who stick around and are doing coatings for $400, they're not going to survive very long. But because they were around for a bit, those customers had their cars done. Now when they buy a new car and they need a coating done, they're going to go to one of the established places because the place they went to first is not around anymore because they weren't charging enough, but they've created that awareness. So I think that's how you have to look at it.
Yeah, and with coatings, I actually think I spoke to Rob. I think it was Rob Earl or Drew Gill from G Technique way back in probably like 07 or 08, and got their C1, and I had it sent over here before there was even a distributor here.
Yeah.
But there was coatings in Japan in the late 90s, early 2000s.
Yep.
So
Japan is where all this stuff originated, man. Like I used to use Modesta back in the day. I used to buy it direct from Japan before there was an Australian distributor. My friend really knew about it, So I used to use that, and Japan is where all this stuff originated. And I think it's because traditionally Japanese paints have been super soft and super thin,
and their windows etched like watermark like crazy.
I'm guessing maybe it's because of the industry. I'm guessing that maybe the rain in Japan's quite acidic or something like that because of the industry.
All the buildings need windows coated. But again, I've been a fairly early adopter of stuff. Whatever I see and I think about it, I look at it really thoroughly and research it. And if I see it's got a lot of merit and there's not really any downsides, I run with it. Rinseless wash in 2002, microfiber in 01. Buffing pads, I said in 2002 they're going to be buffing with microfiber. 10 years, was it? 8, 9 years later, there it was. But there's other people that probably had it microfiber before even I did, like even probably 96 from Germany and stuff like that when it first came out. So, it's definitely interesting. So, and like you said, there's a lot of really good coatings out these days.
Yeah, look, I think the coating market is more or less mature. There is a new one coming from Switzerland that the rag company is getting behind.
The nano diamond rod thing.
Yeah, something like that. And apparently it is, I was speaking to the guys in Australia. I think it's going to be distributed in Australia by Car Care Co., the guys who do the rag company and stuff here.
Yeah, Mark Perch.
Yeah, that's exactly. And apparently it is a different technology and it's made in Switzerland. So let's see. I'm interested in trying it out and seeing what it's like. But I think the days of like coatings coming up with like a revolutionary breakthrough are over. It's just kind of small increments, kind of like mobile phones now, man. Like how much difference is between an iPhone 13 and an iPhone 14? It's nothing, right? It's just like little bits and pieces. And I think the coating market has matured a fair bit.
My mentor's got a spray-on version that you can spray on, and you put it in a plastic bottle. It doesn't turn to little bits of crystals from reacting to the plastic, and that doesn't mean it's necessarily the best coating in the world either. But it doesn't watermark hardly at all, and you just mist it on the applicator and go, and no problem. But again, it's whether it doesn't mean that's any better either, but it's just another different version. It's got any typical resins in it.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting because I still get all these emails from various companies promoting their new coating, and there's new Australian companies coming out all the time with new coatings saying, this and that. Honestly, like I'm at the point now, I just can't be bothered. I don't have the time. I'm really happy with what we use. And the other thing that I've learned over the years in business as well is that like relationships are the most important thing.
Absolutely.
So I'm not going to break a relationship with a company or a person to save $5. You know what I mean? It's not worth it. That's the thing.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because since being in business, my attitude towards people in that regard has changed as well. So, for example, say if I get, I don't know, a plumber in to do some work, it's kind of like whatever the price is, that's the price. I'll pay him, no questions asked, because I expect the same with our customers. So I treat other people the same. And again, when you do that, you get more respect from the other people, and it creates a better relationship because you understand business is business. This is the price, and it shows respect for each other.
And that's what I love. That's what I love about. Well, when I had mine, my favourite customers were business people, like guys like Ross Contractors, who was a big trucking company.
Yeah,
you know, they were totally okay with my pricing.
Yeah,
and I've always been. I was too cheap early on, but I got better and better, and very, very. I've always been fair, not greedy, but definitely fair.
Yeah,
and sometimes I've been like my polishing services were always at the top end of the scale.
Yeah,
and he didn't have a problem with it whatsoever. And then when I needed something from him, it was, there you go, buddy.
Yeah,
paying you full price.
Well, I think this is the number one problem that new people in the industry face is pricing, because everyone wants to charge. They think that you have to charge a small amount to get yourself known. And look, you know what? I get it. I understand that, because if you're a new business, you know, how are you going to get yourself out there? The problem is you are kind of shooting yourself in the foot long term.
You are.
Because it's very, very hard to raise your prices. So with PPF,
don't ever do discounts.
No,
Never.
Exactly. So with PPF, for example, the way you do it is, okay, yeah, when you first start out, your installs are going to be shit. That's it. They're not going to be very good. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to throw out a lot of film. But you don't do a cheap job and tell people, yo, I'm still learning. You know, no. You get the job as good as you possibly can, even if you lose money on it, but you still charge the same. And you understand that this is I'm paying my dues, or this is a training cost, you know, like you won't make money in PPF, for example, for the first year or two. You just won't. You'll lose money.
I remember when you were doing it and you're starting, you're like, you know, the money you were making, most of it was going on film and stuff like that.
Oh, mate, yeah. I wouldn't make money on cars because there was that many redos. You'd do a panel and then there'd be a problem the next day, rip it off and redo. So, you know, every car would get redone multiple times. Panels get redone multiple times. So you're not making any profit. But that you have to treat it as your training cost. You know, cost of training.
It's a long game. Don't think short term.
Yes. Yeah. Because, you know, it's like you go to TAFE, you go to uni, you go to whatever, you spend 10K, 20K learning on, I don't know, being a locksmith, for example. You don't expect to get that money back straight away. That's your training cost. This is how you treat that as well. So yeah, it's important. And also you still have to go and pay for some training and do some training as well, which I did. I did lots of courses with various places and paid money to learn. But then the biggest training cost is yourself doing and redoing it. And I think that's the biggest barrier to entry for PPF. These days, you know, film's gotten a bit, you can buy a lot of cheap film and stuff like that. The problem now I'm finding with PPF is that everyone with a roll of film and a knife is a PPF installer, you know. But man, it's dodgy, man. Like you don't want to be putting a knife on a car unless you really know what you're doing. You know, you want to have done it a lot of times beforehand and really know what you're doing. Because the number of jobs that I've seen, you know, that where people have come to me to fix up jobs, and you take the film off, like, mate, your car needs a respray, you know.
Oh no.
Yeah. So that's the thing. Yeah. And look, honestly, in this day and age, look, you know, with PPF, there's the bulk versus patterns argument. You know, again, artist versus business, you know, with very, very little exception, there's almost no reason for you to ever be using a knife in the car. Like, you know, there's a handful of exceptions, maybe if you're supremely skilled at it and you're going for you know, I mean, there's a bloke in Melbourne called Maxwell Wang, and he charges 15K plus for a PPF install, and he is a wizard. His work is immaculate. Like, it's almost impossible to find an edge on his film. Every corner is wrapped, every edge is wrapped, and it's ridiculous, right? But again, he charges 15K plus, like 15K minimum. And he's very, very, very experienced. Now, in order for if you're starting a business and you're getting a PPF, for example, you're not going to be able to compete with that. So don't try. You know, your aim is to go for the customers who don't really care about that final 1%. Because really, I remember when I used to, I remember a few years ago, I used to offer multiple tiered levels of PPF. So I'd have like your standard job, and then like the plus deluxe job, which is like say 2K extra. And that was like where we wrap all the non-standard edges and we do all the extra stuff, do dismantling, and we did a handful of those kind of jobs. And it's like I would show the customer, like, hey man, yeah, check this out. And I was really proud. I was like, check this out. You know, the nerd in me come out. Look at how we tapered this edge. Look at how this follows that contour. Look at how we managed to do this. Look at that. Look at how there's no seam there. And they're just like, no. They were like, cool. They, you know, I remember I did this GD2 RS, and it was like, you know, it was an incredible job. There was like double and triple layer film in certain areas, and like the way I did it was just ridiculous, right? And I showed the customer, and he literally did not care. He was like, "Oh, awesome job, Saad. Thanks. Can I pay you now?" You know, like that was
there you go.
Yeah. So they don't care. And that's the thing. And look, but on the other side, you don't want to ever lose that kind of sense of enthusiasm or perfection either. My very good friend Elias, who might be worth talking to, he's a funny, he's a good bloke. He's down in Sydney. He's called the Detail Lab. We both started PPF around the same time, and you know, we both learned together. He says, look, Saad, the thing is, where we are now, what we're known for, we're there because we went that extra mile early on. You know, we did all the extra stuff early on and really pushed the boundaries, right?
Yep.
So you can't ever let that go. You still have to try and maintain that quality standard. Don't ever try and drop, because, you know, there's, for example, in Sydney, there's lots of PPF places in Sydney who are incredibly cheap, and their work is incredibly shonky, but they're really cheap at the same time. And I thought, you know what, maybe we should offer like a cheaper package as well for people. And it was just like, nah, don't even bother.
No,
don't stick to your standards.
Don't follow the pack.
Nah, exactly. So yeah, I'm not sure how we got here, but what your original question was, but yeah.
No, I can relate even to, like, I'm only just diving into myself with PPF, and the other day someone asked, I want a full wrap.
I'm going to just come down and spend a week with me. I'll teach you everything.
I think I might have to, I think.
Yeah.
But they wanted a full wrap on a Dodge Ram. I'm like,
hell.
I'm nowhere near that yet. So I'll probably recommend someone else. But and he said thanks for your honesty, and I'm like, well, that is being honest. I'm not there, off there. So
Well, on that note, you know, that's the thing for everyone, you know, listening out there. If you want to learn how to do PPF, the best way to do it is buy a roll and just start practicing on your own stuff, just to get a feel for the material. Go and do a training course, and then go and spend a week with a shop interstate. And, you know, some places will charge you, some places won't, just depends what you've got. But that is the best way to learn. You got to go and spend a week interstate. And even if you just do nothing but observe for a week, you will learn so much. That's the best way. And then get into it, you know, and then start doing friends and family's cars, and don't advertise it. So when I started doing PPF for the first year, I didn't actually advertise it. We just had customers come in, and people who knew us would ask us about it, and I'd offer it to them. It was not advertised, you know. It was only after a year or so when I was confident that we started advertising the services. But yeah, you need to go and do some training, because look, you can go and do a training course with Expel or Suntech or whoever. Like, you learn a lot in the 2 days, 3 days. Actually speaking, it was Expel are opening up a new training facility, and they'll be doing training, I think, for everyone, even if you're not an Expel installer. The whole point is you pay the money and they'll teach you the basics, and I think it's worth doing. But the way you really learn is just doing cars over and over again. You know, that's like everything. But
all the theory in the world, but
exactly. It's mat time. Well, not, that's a jiu-jitsu term, but like PPF time. You know, like what's the term? Like hands-on time. You know, like the polisher time. Like, you know what I mean. So
the more you do, the better you get at it.
Exactly, and I think, like, for me especially, the one major leap was me spending a week with Tim. And, you know, whilst I was there, I was working, I was helping him out, I was doing jobs for them. So, you know, it's not like, so you go and do that, you know, that's the best way, I think. And look, the problem is there's going to be very few people in your state or your city who will be willing to do that. So you'll have to travel, you have to go into state, you know, but I think it's worth it. It's definitely worth it. Or hell, even go overseas. Like, I want to actually go to America and spend a couple of days with a bloke called Tim Ham, and he's a wizard. Like, him and his guy, they wrap a Porsche in 4 hours. Like, you know, it's ridiculous. And
I think I've heard of him actually.
Yeah, Tim Ham. Yeah, he himself's got a Porsche GT3 and a crazy Rolex collection and a crazy Lego collection, and I think he's got 2 Porsche GT3s actually. And he charges like $10,000 US for training for 5 days. But for people who I've spoken to who've actually spent the time with him, they're like, it's life changing. It doubled their speed.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things I want to go and do eventually.
Reduce your learning curve.
Yeah, I want to go there and find out what the goal is. It's just that getting to America and it's expensive, but I think it's definitely worth it because
getting to America is not really a problem. Flights, and all that's not that bad.
Now it's not. Like last year, it was a bit of a pain, but it's
the ongoing sort of
but and look, it's expensive. But the way I figured, well, you know what, $10,000 US, if it doubles. If he can teach you something that doubles your installation speed, and then I can teach that to my guys, that's money well spent. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, exactly.
Time is everything.
Exactly. And the funny thing with PPF is, generally speaking, the faster you can do an install, the better it will be, because the less time the film is exposed to the air, the less time it's not locked down, the less time there is for dirt to get in, the less time there is for stretch marks and adhesion marks and things like that. So it is something where the faster you are, the better, And one thing I do, I time myself. I've turned it into a bit of a sport, and I do that with my guys. Like I'll do a fender on a car and go start, stop. All right, cool. 23 minutes. You guys have to beat that. That's it. So, and it becomes fun that way. It keeps it fresh. You turn it into a bit of a sport, a bit of a game, trying to get as fast as possible. Yeah, exactly. But it's that thing, like, one of my guys is always saying, oh, look, I can go faster, but I can't do the quality. I can't be as good. I'm like, no. You can be faster and have as good quality. That is the thing. Like anyone can spend 4 hours to do one panel and get a good job. That's not difficult at all. Do it in 4 minutes. That's what's difficult. That's the thing. It's like polishing as well, man. Like over time, when you get better at polishing, you learn techniques. You learn to cut and finish in one step. Through manipulation of pressure or manipulation of speed, manipulation of whatever. You learn that, and it becomes a lot faster.
That's something I've always done. I've always had that way. Always been that way. It's been whether it's before the expert single polish system or some of the other stuff I have, even before I had that, I've always been a person that's okay, I'm going to remove the defect. I'm going to do my cutting at slow speed on a rotary or moderate speed or whatever speed, mostly speed 3 on a Roops, probably if I was using the Roops, but mostly on rotary, it's 400 to 800 RPM, maybe 1,000 at most. But then I'm going to refine and back it down and blow it out once, back it down more and more and more. And people go, oh, that's costing you time. Yes, but I'm never having to fix anything. I haven't got the holograms that you've got.
Exactly.
Or if I've got holograms from a wall pad of any kind, even deburb wall sometimes can leave a tiny fraction. It's so shallow. You'll just go one pass and it's all gone.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Not having scoured debuggery.
No, exactly. I try every color we do, try and do it in 2 steps. That's it, cut and like a refined step. And often, most times, the way I do it, you don't often even need that refining step. I just do it out of principle, if anything, and also just in case you've missed something and things like that. Yeah, exactly. Because I'm like, it doesn't take long to go over the whole thing with a Roops white pad or yellow pad and some white polish. It doesn't take long. Just do it.
Even like microfiber, like I've hardly ever had any haze or micro marring.
Yeah.
With some of whether it was FlexiPads microfibers with the long hairs or Maguire's with the shorts. Yes, I've had some micro marring sometimes, but the haze, if it's there, it's so fine.
Yeah, exactly. It's not even in the paint as well. Like as a general rule, I won't use on a black Tesla. The rule is no microfiber pads on a black Tesla. Or even any solid black car. Unless it's booked in for a multi-step, and they're the only cars, when it's an older car and it's solid black, where you might need 3 stages, and one of those stages literally just removing the haze or the micro marring from the first step, because it's that heavy. And
that's why I like rotary still. I mean, if you don't do a 3-step, I'd be rotary, wool, foam and foam.
Yeah.
I just love the look of. I've never been able to match with DA. I've gotten close over the years, but I've never been able to match that deep, rich, glassy sort of color and clarity of a rotary wool and then 2 foams.
It's interesting
with a microfiber and a foam. Like you can do killer stuff with the DA these days. You can.
Yeah.
I've been using long throw since 2007-8. So with the Dynabrake, and that thing, can do amazing things. But it's I just love. Yeah, I'm not that I would always do 3 steps. I love how you can do 2 steps these days, or even my 1 steps were that bloody good. Made some people's 2 steps were average.
But Matt,
not very often, but
that's why you're an artist. That's the difference.
Yeah, I should have been better at business. That's the other
thing.
Yeah,
no. And look, and don't get me wrong. It's funny. I was talking to Jason a couple of years ago when the Roops training course was still happening. I went to do the advanced one, and it was good fun. I just didn't really, I just it was just an excuse to get a day off work, to be honest. And I was talking to Jason Rose, and I was like, man, despite what everyone says, I cannot cut with a rotary faster than a DA. I can't. For me, it's faster. And he said to me, what did you learn to polish on? He's like, DA. I was exactly, that's why. He was like, because you learned to polish with the DA, you start off on that, your skills are sufficiently advanced that it's not as good. And he said as well, look, they're pretty much on par. Like, these days they're on par. Like you can't say a rotary cuts faster, maybe in certain situations, but generally speaking.
Yeah, if you had a 1 inch nap or half-inch nap or 1 inch, 1.5 inch nap, traditional 4-ply twisted wool. Yeah. And you had some pretty strong, decent compound or some levelers. There are levelers out there, like there's a brand I had years ago. It was actually quite a nice cream stuff too. It was called High Temp Acryl 400. That was 400 grit leveler. Yeah. And it would cut and it would finish very, very well. Yeah. Actually, and with a rotary and that, you could just annihilate stuff.
And look, when the paint's that bad, I've always just sanded it.
Yeah, well, that's what I would do.
That's
now.
The thing. I would sand it. It's quicker, easier, safer.
And it transforms the paint a lot better than what puffing ever could.
100%. It
does.
Like on my M3 the other day, we were preparing it for to go on display at the BMW showroom. So currently at BMW Canberra, they've got a display with every single M3 from the E30 to the F80, not F80, G80. To all 6 generations, and my car's an E46 and it's on display there. And the bonnet had PPF on there, and the PPF was really looking bad because it had been my test bed for years. Like I'd scratch it up and show customers, look at this and that. So I took the PPF off, and the paint underneath was looking so good. But I remember years ago, I sanded it lightly with 1500, 3000 compound and polish, and it looked so good. So I'm like, you know what? We're not putting
it's amazing what that does.
We're not putting the film back on. Yeah, we're leaving the film off because it looks better without the film, which is a rare situation these days. I find when you put film on a car, it makes it look better. But obviously,
the old stuff didn't.
Yeah, no, old stuff didn't. No, exactly. This is only a few years ago. This film is still good, but obviously the film here was just beaten up because I'd scratched it and damaged it to show people.
Just told it off. Yep. But no, like I said, I really think that I like Ivan LaCroix's attitude of DA cut rotary finish.
Yeah,
It's a brilliant way to go. It's just a matter of I've done rotary DA, my short throw, my turbo dual orbit machine, 6 mil or 2.5, mostly running on 6.5 mil. Beautiful thing to finish with. Doesn't seem to degloss it like some of the long throws do sometimes after a rotary, but you can go either way. And rotary you can take straight line, real non-uniform sanding marks out a lot faster sometimes.
It's weird. It depends on the paint, man. Sometimes
it does.
Like on my M3, I rotoried it.
Bullshit, they can't.
Yeah. Like on my M3, just when we polished it recently, I finished it with a rotary, and the finish was incredible. And I don't know, that paint, because it's an older car or something, it lent itself to that process. But also from a business perspective as well, it's easier and quicker just to show people how to use a DA. And then the rotaries that we use are like the mini ones, like you've got like the flex mini one, or the Roops hybrid with the rotary head and stuff like that.
Or in my case with the Proxon WPE.
Yeah, the Proxon. Yeah, I remember that one. Yeah, that one, that was a good one. Yeah.
Yeah, I've still got that little bugger. I'm gonna get.
Sorry, Dale. Me and
You're right.
Matt are just having our own little conversation here.
This is what it's all about.
Yeah.
Well, you might want to ask him some questions now too, though. You've got to do those typical.
Yeah,
questions.
we might
start
wrapping up on our 6-stage questions. So, there's a few randoms for you, Saad. So, first ever detailing job. Probably explained it.
It was a Volkswagen GTI Mark II, I think. If you go to obsessioncardetailing.blogspot.com. You remember Blogspot, the
The old
blogger?
site.
It will still be there. It was a Mark II, either a GTI or something or other, like a Golf, a grey one. And that was the very first one I did. Now, that was a first paid job. I polished that and installed Zano Z2 or whatever it was called on there. And that car won a trophy at the VW, whatever it was on at Parliament House or around there, or the national, wherever the lawns were. But there was some sort of VW show or Euro car show back then. That would have been 2009, 2010. Yeah, and that was probably the very first paid job, I think.
Nice.
10-year durability on your paint protection.
Yeah.
11 layers.
Yep. I tell you what, but like, I still think nothing looks as good as those. It looks as good as sealants or waxes. Like I on my M3 the other day, once it was done, I put some of the Bowden's own wax on there. The what's it called? The paste wax. What's it called?
I don't know. Don't look at it.
It's got a funny name. Whatever, the Bowden's own paste
I know
wax.
the name, yep.
Far out, it looked good. We put it on, and it looked so good. I still think that nothing
Goes
looks
wet.
as good.
Yeah.
But that being said, I think at this stage, even with you, Matt, when you're talking about the color depth of rotary versus DA, yeah, it might be there, but
It's very minimal.
It's minimal and it's only visible in the right light. And I still think, one day we should do the experiment. I've got a gloss meter, and I've got one of those expensive gloss meters, which measure the orange peel and stuff and all that kind of stuff as well, right?
Yep.
We should actually do the experiment. And
you know what? It doesn't. At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter.
It doesn't. Yeah, it's just fun for yourself.
I like rotary. I'm not anti-DA at all.
I think rotary is nicer to use. It's smoother and it's quieter.
It's smooth,
for sure.
and it's beautiful, and you can put any size plate on there you want.
Yep.
All that stuff. It has its place, and it's not just a cutting tool. But again, I've spent 50% of my career finishing with a rotary, 50% of my time finishing with a short throw DA.
Yeah.
Because or the Dynabraid in lock to mode or offset rotary, as Kevin Brown calls it, and then back to random just quickly. And 50% of the time, because guaranteed no issues.
Yeah. It's what you know,
car,
man. Ultimately, it's whatever tool you use or whatever polish you use and everything. We're having having this discussion yesterday. If you give me any tool, any polish, any whatever, I'll get it to work. Much like if you give an F1 driver any car, they'll be able to drive it hard. And the classic example is Top Gear, when they get the F1 drivers on and they go around and they're able to set crazy lap times. But ultimately, we're at the stage now, I think, technology-wise, with this industry, that it's all personal preference. Everything works, and the laws of marketing and the laws of markets and economics as well state that bad products don't really exist, because if there are bad products, they quickly disappear because no one buys them, no one uses them. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so everything available now is pretty good. It's pretty good.
And also, there's my belief also is there is no best.
There isn't.
There is no best, because if you're always looking for the best, will it stay the best for very long?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Next question.
Questions.
That probably leads us on to what is your favorite polisher?
Favorite polisher. Man, this is random. I really, really like the Flex PXE80, the small battery one.
I've used it.
That's such a good machine. Yeah, it's such a good machine. I love it because the only criticism is the backing. It only comes with 2 backing plates, so it comes like a 3-inch plate and like a real small one. It doesn't come with a mid-size backing plate, but you can buy a mid-size one that fits from Detail Central. Not Detail Central, Detail. What's Dan's business called?
Central.
It's Detail Central. Yeah, that's right.
Yep.
Was it confusing? Detail Central, Detail Paradise, Detail whatever. I love that polisher. I think it's so cool. I remember the first time I got it, I was like, holy shit, this thing is so much better than an hybrid. Now, an hybrid is still needed because that long neck design and that how it's shorter allows you to get into places where the Flex won't. But I think the Flex is a much better machine. But I think that's really, really good. But I really love that, and I really love the ShineMate battery powered machines. The ShineMate 3-inch 12 mil one, and the 5-inch 15 mil one. I think battery powered machines are the next Evolution, and the Shinemate ones are really, really, really good. The batteries last long enough. I think for heavy cutting, they work, but there's not enough torque there. But for me, what I love is having the trolley, having say one 5-inch 15mm machine for cutting that's plugged into the wall, and then for finishing you have the battery powered one that's plugged in with the pad on there, and you don't have to worry, there's no cords everywhere and things like that. So I mean so I suppose I've given you multiple answers there, but in general I really like the new generation of battery machines.
Yeah,
I agree, mate.
We were discussing that a while back, because the Milwaukee's coming out, but they don't feel as good as sort of like what a Roops would. The battery power's there, but it's not the rotational.
The Shinemate battery ones feel really good, and I've got a few Shinemate of the corded ones as well, of the same generation, and they don't feel as good. It's weird because I only have them. We don't use them. We have them as backups. They're just there if something breaks or something, so we have them, right? But I used them the other day and I was like, man, this vibrates so much. It just, maybe something was wrong with it. Whereas the battery powered Shinemate is really, really smooth. It's unreal. It's really, really nice. And I think the most useful one, if anyone's thinking, get the 3-inch one, because I think, when you're doing small bits and pieces like that, the 3-inch machine is the most versatile. So you can basically have your main full size one, your 5-inch, your 6-inch one, that's mains powered, and then get the 3-inch one for, all your details and your bumpers and things like that. And I recently just bought the Shinemate battery powered rotary as well. The thing is awesome. So good. Again, it's primarily designed to use with small pads, but I put a 5-6-inch backing plate on there and it was fine. It was awesome. It was so good. So, yeah.
No, I love the 3-inch stuff and the cordless. And again, Dale and I have already spoken about my dream, which may never happen. It may happen one day, but it's a long way off, which is wireless powered inside your building. Sort of thing.
Maybe
a long way away.
Maybe one day.
Yeah. But no, it's really good. I've got to say, I've tested the PXE80 at CMI Toyota. One of the guys there's a detailer on the weekends, and he works there too. And he's got Flex everything, Sonax and stuff, and he had the PXE80. And besides, I think me personally, like Speed 1 not doing much, Speed 2 not doing. Of 2, 3, and 4 are pretty much good, but Speed 1's a bit sort of average. But it's a very, very good machine. But the Shinemate EX620 is a good machine too. That's a beast.
Yeah. No, all the Shinemate stuff is really, really good. But I still think the Roops machines have the edge. They're still better, Even the noise.
The speed control is better.
Even the noise that the Roops machines make is more pleasing to the ear. It's not grating, whereas the Shinemate machines are a bit more grating. But look, for the price, you can't complain. I think if you're a professional, you buy the Roops and you have the Shinemate machines as a backup. You need to, if you're a professional, you need to have a backup. You can't have one machine. Yeah.
No,
because when it dies.
I had 16 polishes at one point.
Yeah. Yeah, I used to have a lot. I sold a few recently because I was like, we have too many polishes. So I sold a few.
And I have to say,
had a garage sale.
If you want a machine that's got one of the worst sounds, somewhat as far as noise, the Flex L3406 VRG, which I powered my Dynabrade with up until when I was working at, the guy closed down his shop and disappeared. Mine was in the building and he's gone. That thing, being a stone polisher, basically, it's just
the stone polishers.
The noise, but it was
designed for stone.
I know, but that's the thing. I needed more power, more torque and power than what the rotary could provide the Dynabrade, and it worked killer. But man, it was loud, and also some of the European rotaries, they just friggin' like scream their heads off. But hey,
I've got my general one, ceramic or PPF.
Oh man, they both have their place. You can't compare the two. Like price differences, all that jazz. I still think that if you are prepared to spend the time on prepping the car, ceramic coating or wax or whatever looks better than PPF to a trained eye, but it looks better for about 5 minutes. That's the problem. Me personally, I prefer PPF because it's kind of like, you wrap the car, make it look awesome, and now you don't have to worry about it. You don't have to worry about washing it with super carefully and drying it and things like that. So especially on like these really delicate paints, So, but I think it's not a versus question. Obviously, for protection, PPF for sure. Looks, ceramic coatings or waxes. Like if you had a show car, if you had a Summer Nats car, for example, that's got a $80,000 paint job on it, you're not going to put PPF on it, you know.
No.
But if you've got a $500,000 Porsche that you want to track, and then and it's limited edition and it's a paint to sample or whatever, and you want to track it and drive it, you're gonna have to PPF it. You know what I mean?
Or an AU Falcon X06 with no paint left.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah. So I think they both have their place and they're both different. And I think the majority of people, ceramic coatings are more useful because price wise, and like what, if you've got a Mazda 6 or a CX5 or whatever the top selling family SUV is at the moment, man, you're going to spend $8,000 on fully PPFing the thing. It doesn't make sense. You're going to get rid of the car in 3 years and stuff. So it doesn't make sense to spend 10% of the value of the car on PPF. Do you know what I mean?
Yep. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Horses for courses, and as that always is.
Favorite detailing tool or products?
Expel DAP. That's not really deep. Yeah. So Expel DAP is the software. Which has all the PPF patterns on there. And that is why it is because of that software that Expel is the #1 PPF company in the world. Their software and their pattern database and the fitment of their patterns is the best. That's it. But otherwise, if we're talking actual products, favorite detailing product, my favorite, oh man,
tough question.
G-Technic window of, I don't know what it's called, but the G-Technic window cleaner. G1. Oh no, that's their coating, but their actual the G-Technic glass cleaner or whatever it's called. Okay. That is so good, man. Like cleaning glass is like, it's the worst job. Everyone hates it, right?
Yeah.
But the G-Technic glass cleaner is so good and it's cheap and it just works. Actually, the Bowden's own one is really good as well and it's cheap and it works. But I just happen to have a lot of the G-Technic one at the moment, so that's what we're using. So that stuff is really, really good. That and favorite product as well. The oh man, this is difficult now. There's so many products. Like there's the Kamikaze Kiwami tire shine. Oh my god, that tire shine. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's $100 a bottle, so it probably is a coating, But my God, the look of that tire shine is ridiculous. Like it's so natural.
Or is it donut?
No, it's you have to scrub the tire and make it fully clean first. So it is effectively a tire coating. With the look that it gives, it's so natural. Like have a look on Instagram. I posted a video of my M3 after it was done the other day, and there's a close-up of the wheels there. That tire shine is just ridiculous. The look that it gives, it's so natural. It's like it's tire shine, but it's not there. It's just stupidly expensive. You would never use it on a customer's car unless they were paying a lot of money and stuff, and it requires a lot of prep, but it's just ridiculous. But like I said, but favorite product, man, in the industry, Expel DAP, I think that's the most revolutionary for us. But I think ceramic coatings in general I really like. But if you're gonna have to name just one random product, I would say that the G-Technic glass cleaner is freaking awesome and just does a really good job at what it does.
Awesome. Haven't heard of that one.
That's the mark of a good product is
good glass cleaners.
Actually, also now on that, the Bowden's own panel wipe. What's it called? It smells like bananas.
I've used it.
That's all we use for panel wipe now. Like that's incredible. That stuff. It's kind of leaves no residue. Doesn't flash too quickly. Smells nice, super easy to use.
It doesn't cause tail marring.
No, exactly. Yeah, that's incredible. Yeah, it's a bit more expensive than some of the other ones. And don't get me started on using just IPA. Like the number of times I've had to tell people on groups, no. Pure IPA is not a panel wipe. You shouldn't use it. Yeah, it might work, but it's spend the $2 per car and do it properly. That stuff's really, really good.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's also like one of my friends who's a painter, Spike's Auto. He goes, I'll go through a pile of sanding discs and they'll cost me $3 or $4, whatever else. But it's better than using a disc for too long and then putting big
100%, 100%, exactly. exactly.
Same with me with pads. You use 12 pads for a one step, or if I had a pad wash, I'll probably use a few more, but a few less, like 3 or 4.
Oh, actually, the pad wash. Speaking of products, the Lake Country pad washer. Oh, that thing is freaking awesome, dude. So I remember in my old shop when I moved out of there, the amount of like just polishing dust residue that was just everywhere when we were emptying the shop. I was like, holy shit. And I was like, you know what? In the new shop, I'm not going to blow out pads. I'm like, I'm not going to blow out pads. So what we do now is there's a pad washer and also just use a shitload of pads per car. But use the pad washer. But man, the pad washer is incredible. That's so good. Yeah, because blowing out pads, it's not good for you because, you're the dust and breathing it in. And look, worst case scenario, if you need to blow the pads out, here you go, guys, an OHS tip. If you need to blow the pads out for whatever reason, spray the pads with water or ONR or something. I use ONR.
That's what I do.
Yeah, spray them and then blow them out because at least that way the dust is surrounded with water and will go to the ground. It's not going in the air and it's not going to go everywhere in your shop and you're not going to be breathing in. But guys, for everyone listening, for your own health and safety as well, invest in a Lake Country 4,000. I think the latest was a 4. I've got a 3,000 and a 4,000. Yeah, invest in one of those. Honestly,
but you know
what? Man, they're $300, man. They're $300. Yeah, they're not expensive, man. Look, if you're a detailer, if you're in business and you can't afford to drop $300 in a pad washer, you're doing something wrong. It's not a luxury; it's a tool. So you need to be able to spend this sort of money on that. It's like it's an expense. It's like if you can't afford business insurance, you're doing something wrong. You can't be in business. If you can't afford, to pay yourself super, if you can't afford these things, you're doing something wrong. These are all business things, and maybe we can talk about them later. But yeah, everyone, you should invest in a pad washer. Stop blowing out your pads. Yeah, it works, but it's not good for you. And it just creates a mess. It creates a mess everywhere. And you'll realize that when it's time to move shops and you see the amount of polishing dust that's just random places, it's awful. And you're breathing that stuff in as well. So it's not good for you.
Yeah, that's what I've noticed because I brush mine, but I brush mine into a bucket of water.
Yeah. I just and then look, we use a lot of pads and then we just chuck them in the washing machine and they come out great. I've got pads that are years old and they're still fine.
Yeah, I always meant to ask that how people go cleaning pads because I know
washing machine, mate. Washing machine. Seriously. Yeah, some people. I remember I made a little thing as well with it was like a board with some Velcro on there. I used to pressure wash the pads. Yeah, it works. Or you can hand wash the pads, but who's got time for that, man? Chuck them in the washing machine. Low heat, use the Rag Company or the Bowden Zone detergent. Yep. Looks really well. And, then spin them dry. And then where you can blow them is when you got microfiber pads, when they're out and they're dry, just blow them lightly to fluff them up a bit if you need to. But actually with microfiber pads, what I do is I chuck them in the dryer at a low heat for a few minutes. And that's just to fluff them up again. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
Or rather than sitting there blowing them, it's all, time is money. So you got
I just sort of air them out on a table and let them self dry and put them back in the cupboard then.
Yeah, that works. Exactly.
All right, boys. I'm I'll just chime in for a second if you don't mind. Like you're saying about the pad washer, I've always used a tub of water or something like that and blow it into there. But I've always used ONR, or even I was testing the PN that was at the 914 rinseless wash.
McKee's N914, yep.
Yeah, it's quite good. And I'm using that as a spray the pad, rub it a bit and blow it. You get a lot more out than just doing it dry. But, I've spent years doing it dry and it's not good for you, man. And especially with microfiber. I love wool and foam and I love shore buffs and velvets and denims and all sorts of other different pads. But microfiber is the worst one for residue. And man, you are better off sticking it in a pad washer if you can, or doing it wet and rubbing it and blowing it and dry blowing it. That's bad.
Nah, it's bad. Yeah. I'm pretty sure in Europe you're not allowed to as well. I don't know where I heard this, but in Europe you're not allowed to blow out pads. It's an OHS thing in some in things. You're not allowed to blow. Yeah, because of the dust. Yeah.
And I'll say this too is that I think using the System 4000 pad washer, it's going to clean your pads with far less water than you normally would if you were hand cleaning them.
Yes.
And what happens with foam? And I've had this verified by the guys at Technical Foam Services, which is now owned by the Vita Group. And, you can talk to Carpenter Foams or Recticel or my guys at Kekatex and whatever else and say, what happens when you clean a pad with too much water? It kills the density of the foam.
Yeah.
It softens them too much. So 100%. By just going pump, rub it around a bit, and you run your machine and then you lift it up and blow it out, you're not saturating that foam so much with so much water trying to get all the suds out. Especially if you're using a sudsy cleaner, you got to get all that suds out, and then you end up just basically softening the foam too much. Then your lifespan's half gone already.
Oh, another tip whilst we're on this for people listening, with the System 4000 pad washer, the way I do it is rather than use the pad washer itself to wet the pad, I just have a small spray bottle with a bit of ONR or whatever cleaner you want to use.
ONR works.
And I spray the pad and then I use the wash, because I just find when you use the pad wash, if you're not careful, it's very easy to squirt yourself in the eye. You're pushing down, just boom, you get a load in the eye. Yeah, it's not nice. It's just easier and you get a more even coverage if you use a spray bottle with a bit of ONR in there or whatever, and use that. So another tip, and that way you don't even have to fill the pad washer up. You're pretty much just using the mechanical action of the pad on the surface of the washer to clean it. So top tip there. I should make a TikTok video on that, actually. That's a good one. Yeah.
There you go. But like I said, it's a really good thing. And again, it comes down to, it's a bit like a lot of people have trouble. I could say I probably have a little bit of that with like the price of some polishers these days. They're very, very expensive. But the pad washer, it's a lot of money. But the thing is, people spend money doing R&D like Lake Country do to develop something, and they've got to get some of their R&D money back. I would imagine. But it's just, if you forget about the initial investment of $300 on the thing, but look at what you gain.
Yeah, man.
You got to look at stuff and look at what you gain. Like for me, buying 300 foams from the guys in France, like they cost me €1 to €2 a piece, or they used to, probably still do actually. And I'll have 50 in one size and 100 of something else, 25 of this and that. I'll punch out a bunch of small ones for myself, and I'll just use between 4 and 12 of that particular pad doing something on a car, and then clean those. If I had a pad washer, because I'm not doing it anymore very much, I'd clean them, put those away, grab the other ones, and extend the cycles. And you go through the whole 300 to the point where every single pad's done such few cycles that they last me ages. Like I've got pads that are 20 years old and they look new still. And they might have lost some density, but they don't look torn to shreds. Yeah,
no, exactly.
They just don't, and they just last ages. Like I could get most of the microfiber pads I've had, except for some of the flexi pads ones, which had a few issues with their Velcro and their glue was a bit average. They fall apart. Not all of them, but some batches did. They last me 50 to 100 cars, no problem. Not because, and that's not me trying to be cheap and make them last ages. I just don't wear them out.
Yeah.
Because I just each pad's getting half of a fender or half of the bonnet, and it's done, and I'm changing to another one.
Yeah.
But again, you can go down the pad washer route and just keep using it. And with microfiber, that probably wouldn't matter. But with foam, if you used it enough times, one pad on a whole car with a pad washer, you might still not actually suffer the damage you would if you were blowing them out.
Yeah.
Because you're keeping it wet and it's not sort of overheating.
Exactly.
But, heat cycles kill foams.
All right, Dale, next question.
Probably nearly wrapped up with this one. Your interests outside of detailing.
Oh, cars.
Racing cars I see as well.
Oh, yeah. Not racing, but I like to go to occasional track day. But I love cars. That's how I got into this, I suppose.
Yeah.
But cars, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, music, DJing, and I've got kids as well. I like to spend time with them as well. So yeah.
No, awesome. Probably one other thing I made to mention about your YouTube. You do a bit on there now.
Yeah. So we started. I started like filming some vlogs years ago, just myself, and then I had a guy from, and then we did a few like videos of like nice cars that we did where I'd go professional in to shoot them and I'd talk about them. And then there's a local Canberra video guy reached out to me and said, asked if I'd be interested in doing a video, using him. I'm like, yeah, okay, cool. Gave him a chance. His name is Kumi. His business is called Curated Visuals. Real good bloke. And I said, yeah, for sure. So he filmed a video for me of a 911 GT3 that we did full PPF on. I was really happy with it. So then I said, you know what, man, let's start doing like a weekly or fortnightly video of the shop. what's going on, kind of like, Yanimai's vlog style. So yeah, we started just doing that. We're up to episode 14 or 15 right now. They're being filmed on average once a fortnight, just because once a week I think is too much. Given we're not a high turnover shop. We're not, getting cars in and out all really, really quickly. So so maybe eventually we'll get to once a week. But yeah, that's been really good. We're not getting huge views or anything on there, but what it does give you, I think it gives you social proof with customers.
Credibility.
Yeah, and if customers ask you about any questions, you say to them, "Hey guys, look, here's a link to our YouTube channel. Here's a whole bunch of videos spanning the last 6 months of work. Take a look at them, and any questions, let us know." And I think it'd be awesome one day to be a YouTube celebrity and make lots of money from YouTube, make that kind of PewDiePie money. I don't think that's going to happen, but yeah, it's good fun. And it's, again, it's relatively cheap, to film a video like that. And you can do it yourself, and I did used to do it all myself, and I quite enjoy it, but it's just a time thing. For me, it's worth paying someone to come in, film, do a good job, edit it, and it's all done.
Yeah,
and that works really, really well. So yeah, check it out. Check out Obsession Car Detailing on YouTube. If you look us up, I'm sure you'll find it.
I've watched it many times.
Yeah,
some of those. Yeah, really
puts
good.
a face to the name as well.
Yeah, exactly.
They're like, oh, you're the guy off YouTube.
Yeah, exactly. So it's good.
That's one thing I've found that there's a lot of detailers, or at least some of them anyway, in Australia and probably other places, where you never see the owner's face in the video talking about anything. It's just, we did this today, it's before and after, that's it. You got to mix it up, man.
Yeah, exactly. You got to show you're a person, you're a business, the face.
Yeah.
And show that you're a fun guy. You get along, and also, like, my favorite part is when I talk to the team, talk to the guys at work, and have banter with them. What's going on? Paying them out for spending time with their girlfriend instead of working, and things like that. Yeah, so it's all good fun. It just shows that what, we're people as well, and I think that's important as well, because a lot of people, a lot of customers as well, they need to realize that ultimately there are people behind this. So, treat us like that.
Yeah,
exactly.
No, well, that's pretty much it.
Yep. Thanks, guys.
What a chat. That was great.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a marathon, but yeah.
Yeah, I do. A little bit of work to do on the back end, but thanks, Maddie. Thanks, Saad, for your time and
no worries,
coming on board. So
always a pleasure. I definitely want to try and play second fiddle to Saad, because I love the guy.
Oh, thanks, mate.
You're a good friend, buddy.
Thank
you. You're a legend, bud. I really appreciate every single one. We get to chat from time to time, and it's thought, who else to bring on that I know that I could say, done better than me in business and is a good dude. So.
Oh, look, man, I'm not there yet. For me,
keep pushing.
The what do you call it? The benchmark or whatever it'll be when I have a Porsche. Once I can. Yeah. That's the aim. Buy a Porsche.
Yep.
Not a shitty Porsche either.
No.
But eventually I'll get there. Eventually I'll get there. I remember I said to my wife years ago, well, you know what? I want to buy a Porsche before we have kids. That didn't happen. But but eventually get there. Or rather, I want to buy a Porsche before they're all bloody electric, before you can no longer get a petrol powered one.
Look, don't get me wrong. I like electric technology. I like electric motors. They're far more efficient than other things, but it's just, and they do go hard and they'll go faster and all that sort of thing.
Oh, they're not as fun though. Yeah, they go fast, but who cares? But
it's the sound. You need
it's the sound. It's the transmission.
It's the engine.
Yeah, it's everything. It's everything. And only people who are into cars get it. Like, that's the problem. Like with all these Tesla owners who are Tesla evangelic. What's the word? Evangelists. They're all going about the efficiency and this and that. And it's like, yeah, but I don't care. Like, it doesn't. I'm not bothered about that. For me, a car isn't just a mode of transport. It's fun. It's something enjoyable, something to be enjoyed.
It's a beautiful thing.
And driving an electric car is not enjoyable. It is like, and electric cars are great. Like, my next car is probably going to be an electric car of some sort for the family, but it's going to be like a fridge or a TV. It's not. It's something. Yeah, it's not an emotional object that you enjoy.
Soul.
Exactly.
Imagine having a polisher that makes no noise and you're sitting there doing stuff like that.
Actually, that'd be incredible. Actually, a polisher that makes no noise, dude. That'd be incredible. You won't need to wear headphones. You can just talk. Yeah. That'd actually be incredible. That's why I like doing PPF. It's quiet,
Yeah, it's quiet. I know.
Yep. It is good.
All right. Awesome, man.
We'll wrap it up, guys.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for your time.
Dale. You're a legend.
Awesome. We'll keep this happening, and I think having the extra guests is always good. So lots of good banter and chat.
See who else we can get on.
Yeah.
And, it's good. And then thanks again for having me on. Like I said, I wasn't thinking of doing any more, and I thought, if I can be helpful to people, like, I'm all for it, man.
Yeah, everyone's got a piece of knowledge to add to the industry, and I think it's great.
Correct.
And we're happy to have anyone on, really. No matter who you are. Some people go, oh, no one will want to listen to me, and I'm like, it's not just about that. It's about telling your story, which I tell people all the time, and so I think it's great. And then the word's getting out about us, so it's good. So
yeah, you're doing a real good job. I've been enjoying it so far. It's good.
Yeah,
it's very good.
Yeah, every Tuesday morning, it's like, it's Tuesday. Let's go.
It's been a battle some of them early Monday, Tuesday mornings for drops, but I'm making it work and getting by. So it's good fun.
Doing it, man. Thanks for doing it. It's good.
No, it's awesome. It's good fun. So
all right, catch you guys later.
We'll wrap it up. Thanks, guys. Thank you. Bye.
Yeah, bye.
Ciao.
That was another episode of the Detailing Down Under podcast. Subscribe now for everything auto detailing in Australia.